Hi everybody, I'm Jackie and I'm nervous filming this video right now. There are a lot of new people here, so I thought it would be nice if I share more about myself with you. And right now I'm sharing my vegan story. And I'm nervous because this is something I haven't spoken very much about, and it's something that I've actually even hidden in the past. I'm not currently hiding it, but I'll share with you a little bit of why I was hiding this. And yeah, so here's my story. I became a vegan on accident. I did not plan on this. It happened completely accidentally. And it started, I guess, when I graduated high school. I was 17 years old, and most people were 18 before they graduated. And that year, there was going to be a presidential election, and both candidates were coming to my high school to speak. And you were only allowed to go and watch them speak if you would be 18 by the time the election happened. What? And I didn't get to go because I was going to be 17. And so I remember feeling so left out. And each time, when the candidates visited, both times I would be sitting there in class so upset, knowing that the future president of the United States might be in my auditorium right now, and I'm not allowed to be there because my parents didn't have sex like 4 months sooner or whatever it was. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I was livid. I was so angry, because I knew what an honor to get to share space and to get to listen to in person both candidates, at such a young age. The people who got to go, they were truly lucky. So when I did turn 18, I probably was more excited to vote than other kids because I had that situation. And I was really pumped up. 18, now I get to vote. And when it came time for the first election that I was eligible to vote in, I decided that I would look into the issues and do my research. And before that, I kind of just always believed what my parents believed, what my friends believed, but I made the commitment to look into things myself. And one of the issues that I looked into was global warming. And, at the time, kind of alternative fuel cars were just coming out, and there were millions and millions of dollars being put into this technology and being put into marketing and advertising and selling these things because they lower the carbon footprint. And looking more into all of that and pollution, I was able to uncover some kind of hidden information about factory farms. And I learned that the factory farms in the United States caused at that time 1/5 of the whole world's pollution, which was the same as the auto industry here. And I thought, that is just so freaking crazy that here everyone's talking about oh, these cars are better, use these cars are coming out, get this one, because cars are so bad for the world, look at what we're doing. And no one's saying, look at what we're doing with the mass production of all of these animals. And so I thought, God, that's just crazy. And I decided to take a little political stance, and I decided to give up beef and pork from factory farms to lower my carbon footprint. And that was pretty easy. That was maybe in 2008, I think that was. And I didn't really like beef and pork much. I liked steak, but I wasn't a hamburger person. I wasn't a hot dog person. I was definitely not a pork person or a bacon person. So it was actually convenient for me just to say, oh, I don't eat those things when someone was serving them, and I didn't feel obligated to eat them. And so that's kind of where it all started. And fast forward about a year later, I was at a family barbecue, and my dad was making me a piece of chicken because everyone else was having meat, and my brother said, oh, you know how they treat the chickens, right? How do you think that's any better? And I ate chicken every day. That was the staple of my body. And I decided to look into it, and I uncovered some information about the farmers, especially the illegal farmers, and how they're being treated, as well as restrictions put on farmers, and then obviously how the animals are being treated. And I won't get into that here, but I just couldn't continue on knowing that and eating that and doing that. So that was, it wasn't right away. You know, I fought myself on that for a little bit, but I finally decided it was right for me to give up chicken. And I did, and that was so hard. It was so hard because I ate a ton of chicken, and you know, I had to start kind of learning new ways to cook. I loved fish. Fish was, it was delicious, and I still ate dairy. And yeah, I just don't eat chicken, I don't eat beef, I don't eat pork, but that's cool. So I continued on. And then, you know, I at this time I was getting more into health and more into fitness, and as a kid I did have issues with dairy. And I knew that when I ate dairy I didn't feel as good. I was dealing with certain health conditions as well. I had, you know, fibrocystic breast disease, so my breasts would feel full and super, super tender. I still get little bouts of it, but this was like constant, and they were really large for my body. And I would have digestive issues and some things like that that I thought might be related to the dairy consumption that I was doing. And as I was researching and I looked into it, when it came down to it, I woke up to the fact that we're the only species that drinks another species' breast milk. And a baby cow is supposed to drink this milk to gain hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds in a short amount of time. So it's like, that can't be good for us to be drinking that milk. And then the way the animals are treated, and then all the stuff that happens with pasteurizing and the stuff that's passed on to us from the milk is just not healthy. And I learned about other sources of calcium that are so much easier or more readily available to our body, easier for us to absorb than calcium. And that was so hard, so I decided to give up dairy. And I did, and it was a learning curve for sure. I bought all these alternative cheeses and hated them, and you know, dairy is addictive, cheese is addictive, and that was very, very challenging to me. But I felt good, and I still ate sushi, and I was a cool girl. I ate fish still, so I could kind of like fake it when I would go anywhere with people. You know, I didn't have to tell them that I was this almost vegetarian. You know, these reasons were my own, and it wasn't about fitting in. It wasn't about wearing a label. It was absolutely not about wearing a label. You know, I didn't want people to know this about me, and it's just like, I just was going with what felt right in my soul, and I didn't want to be judged by others. And I felt just like resistance coming from myself about it as well. And then it was probably maybe like, it was shortly after that I read a book called Skinny Bitch. A lot of that I already knew. And then I was like really looking into fish. I learned about crustaceans and how we shouldn't eat crustaceans because they're basically just eating the garbage on the floor of the ocean, and I loved crustaceans. And learned about kind of what we're doing to our oceans and how we're polluting them, and then we're taking on that pollution when we consume them. A lot of metals that we shouldn't be eating. Some of us have toxic amounts in our bodies. And we're growing, you know, we're consuming at such a rate that the ocean can't keep up. So there aren't as many fish as there once were. And now we have hungry animals that their food source has been taken away from them. And really, it's just like, it's not necessary for us to eat fish. You know, I saw that there was more harm than good to continue eating fish. And I would fish. I would clean fish myself. I would cut them up. I would do all of it. I, you know, I felt bad, but I felt fine with doing that. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna give up fish oh my F, I'm a vegan. And once I gave up fish, it was actually really easy to do because I had already been teaching myself how to cook in different ways, you know, and how to get protein. And I was, you know, that whole process probably took 3 to 4 to 5, I wasn't counting, 3 to 4 to 5 years from that to go from eating everything to no animal products at all. And it was completely by accident. It was from just becoming mindful and awake and aware. And you can't turn off awareness. Once you've learned something, you can't shut the door to it and be ignorant. And I chose to open up and learn, and then I was transformed as a result. And I wasn't very happy about it. Actually, like the worst, you know, it was hard to eat different foods. It was hard to kind of figure all that out. And I was really strict about, you know, counting all my nutrients and stuff. I would write down everything I was eating on an app on my phone to make sure that I was getting everything I needed. But the toughest part of all was my own resistance to accepting and embracing who it is that I felt I should be. I didn't want to be this vegan because I probably used to judge vegans and make fun of them. I was like this cool girl who ate meat and nachos and drank beer and whatever. Now I don't do any of that. And I identified as a meat eater. I really did, and I didn't want to identify as a vegan, and I was judgmental of vegans before. So I didn't really advertise that I was vegan. I would be like, oh, I just prefer not to eat that stuff, and heart disease runs in my family. And at this time I was so fit, you know, I was able to kind of like reverse age and look better than I looked when I was like 13 or 14 years old. And this was, let's see, I'm 35 now, and so I was probably 23, 24 when I went kind of full vegan. And I looked great and I felt great. And I learned that some people would judge me, but then some people really wouldn't care. And I would tell people, I don't care what you eat, you know, I'm not gonna judge you, so please don't judge me. I still get made fun of a lot for it, but whatever, that's how people feel. And probably, I guess it was 2012, so this is a couple years later, you know, I am a woman that, like, I loved my shoes, I loved my handbags, I loved my jackets, and for every birthday, Christmas, whatever, gift from boyfriend, anniversary, from the time that I was a teenager, you know, I would get purses and shoes and jackets as gifts. That's what I would ask for. And so I had this great collection. And then I just started to become very aware that I was wearing flesh and embarrassed of it. And if somebody would compliment my shoes or my purse, and it was animal, I felt ashamed of myself for wearing it. And I didn't want to be like that vegan. I didn't want to do it. So I was so resistant to this. But every day, you know, I would get ready and I would think, I'd be like arguing in my head, so many thousands of dollars spent on all this stuff. And this was overnight. I woke up one day and I just decided I'm done. No more animal products. So I packed up all my purses, all my shoes, all the jackets, and I gave them away. I went to my sister-in-law's houses and let them choose and let some friends choose, and then I took everything else to the yoga studio that I worked at the time and just left there for people to take as they wanted. And this was like $1,000 handbags. So I just gave it all away and it felt so great. And I had one pair of sneakers that my brother had bought me when he was in Korea that were like made from plastic. I had one pair of flip-flops and I had like a $2 vinyl wallet from the store called Heartbreaker, which is like a teenagey store, and that's all I had. So I did have to educate myself and you know, take the time. It took a long time to get new shoes and new purses, and but I was fine with it. You know, I was fine with having one pair of shoes and no purse. I was fine with all of that. And honestly, it's not an issue. There are great alternatives. Like, I'm not able to walk into a store and buy any pair of shoes that I want. I think they look gorgeous, but why would I want to buy those? See, I don't want to buy them. I don't want to wear flesh on my body. I don't want to wear someone else's skin. That's disgusting. Human skin or animal skin. I don't want to wear it. And, you know, maybe my purses and my shoes aren't as cool as other people's, but that's a small sacrifice to make. I do not do leather. I do not do animal products at all. You know, and over the years, like, there have just been so many reasons to continue on with this, you know, health-wise, and kindness-wise. Like, practicing to choose kindness to the animals, choose kindness to people, and taking a stand, saying this can't continue. The way that this is continuing cannot continue, because we're all gonna die or we're gonna kill this planet. And if we just took a quarter of our factory farms and produced grains, we would be able to feed all of the nations of the world. And there's so much more that's come into this, like corruption in politics, corruption in the nutritional pyramid, corruption in things like Tyson Chicken being the biggest donor to the American Heart Association. What? Just so many stones that I've uncovered through being a vegan. And it's not easy, but it's not hard either. And there have been times where something will change in my health, and I kind of have to relearn. You know, there are certain foods that my body isn't accepting as well as it was before, maybe that were staples, and I kind of have to make a little transition and relearn things. And sometimes it's been a little bit challenging for my health. But I'm always able to get through, and I'm always able to get through it. And it doesn't matter. Like, I am not gonna eat animals so that I can look hot, so that I can look as hot as I can. Like, I know I'm gonna be as healthy as I can not eating those animals. But I'm not going to be vain. You know, my existence is going to cause so much suffering, but I'm going to choose the least amount of suffering possible. And a vegan lifestyle is the least amount of suffering possible. Now, I'm not perfect. You know, that's why I kind of hate wearing the label vegan, because I don't know, you can call me vegan if you want to, but you don't have to. You can call me plant-based, because I'm not perfect. I probably have some products that other vegans would say don't have those products. I probably, you know, I eat honey, which a lot of vegans don't eat honey. I have a dog that came from a breeder. If I were to get a dog now, you know, I got him 3.5 years ago. If I were to get a dog now, I probably wouldn't go that route. And I've like cheated. I hate the word cheated because it doesn't feel like cheated. But, you know, for instance, there was once where my friend invited me to her grandparents' house for dinner, and her grandma looked into veganism, and she like made this big meal and dessert, and she was so excited for us to get there. And we got there and it was vegetable lasagna, and she was so excited. And pumpkin pie with whipped cream. And my friend's like, Grandma, this isn't vegan. And I was like, shh, 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 yes it is. And so I told her, oh, it's perfect, it's great. And I ate the lasagna. I ate the pie because I figured for that evening, I would cause the most amount of suffering by refusing to eat it. You know, to her grandmother and her grandfather, it would really hurt them. They went out of their way to do what they thought was something in support of me, you know? So there have been times like that where I have had stuff that has dairy in it, or eggs in it. And that's just me saying, you know, not committing to being a vegan, that's me committing to being kind and practicing kindness. You know, I had a friend who took me out on a boat, and they had this little grill on the boat, and he was so excited to show me these veggie burgers that he bought from the butcher, you know, because he was making burgers for everyone. He bought a veggie burger for me, and it had egg in it, and I ate it, you know, because someone did something super special and went out of their way for me. And he would have felt bad and concerned about me had I not had it. So I'm not saying it's perfect or it's the right vegan story, but this is my vegan story, and I am so happy to be a vegan. It's been about 11 years now, and I feel great. I'm 35 years old, and I don't feel like I'm 35 years old at all. My health is really wonderful, and I'm happy, and I'm going to continue to practice kindness in my life. And I'm pretty sure that means